Right, our last bit is how we put it together. So I've shown you how to drag data from a file or read data from a file, fairly simple. We've looked at creating a record. Our final step is to make this thing that's highlighted in bold, so it must be important, an array of records. So we're going to, if you want to think of it, we're creating 10 rows of data in our table. So we're going to make our table. Remember, these 40 coordinates represent the 10 things. So you can probably work out already, and at the end of the last video we talked about, this will be your x1, y1, x2, y2 for one rectangle. That will be your second one. So rather than just drag them all in and have 40 numbers that don't really have any structure to them, we're going to make it so each row in your table has 4 things in it, an x1, a y1, an x2 and a y2, and there's 10 of them, so that's where your 40 comes from. Okay, your code will look a bit like this, and this is pretty much combining the two skills from before, except we're not sending it to a file or reading it from a file, so we're just actually in read line here, we're just typing it in as we normally would. Okay, straight from the top again. Here's our person structure, exactly the same as before. So person structure is creating our table structure, I guess. It has a name, an age and an income. This time when we get down to the variable bit, instead of just having a plain old variable, because we're just using it once, we've got 3 of them. So imagine it's like an egg carton and there's one part that does this, there's one part that does this, and you're just breaking it up a little bit. But I can now say this particular variable people is an array of records. Okay, so that's where the array of records bit come from. So in other words, I've got a structure that allows me to have, if I whack in a table, to 3 by 3, not there, Buffhead, over here. Hang on, I'll kill that. It might be something like this. Fred, the next one's the age, and then you've got the income. Okay, so that's the rough structure we're trying to create. So if you want to think of your x and y's, you'd have 4, your x1, y1, x2, y2 across here, and then you'd go 10 rows deep. So ours will look something like that. Okay, and count as usual. The only tricky bit really is when you come down to read it, we're putting it into this thing here. Okay, so we're going to the first, if you want to think of count this time as the first row, and put it in name. So our first time we'd come in, we would go to the first row of our people thing, so that's our table, and put it in the name field. So we would whack in this case it would be Fred, would go in there. Then we ask for Fred's age, and then we ask for Fred's income. Once we go back up here, it will say, oh, our for do loop's not done, so count's now 2. So now it's going to the people table, if you want to think of that as the second row, or the second person, or the second rectangle for you fellas. And then where do I put it? So x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. Questions about that? You all happy with that bit? Of course, and a massive hint for your assignment, you fellas won't need to put right lines on there, because you don't have to go and ask the thing how to do it. All you will need to do is, how do I read stuff from a file? What's it look like? Like that, but what goes at the front? Yeah, so it will look something like file name, comma, and then. So go here, get what you find and put it in that variable for me. Okay? There you go. That is a good clue to have. So reading from the file, you don't have any right lines because you don't have to ask any questions. You know it's there, you just go and bang, bang, bang. So you'll read 4 things in, go up to the next row, read another 4, another 4, another 4. Eventually you'll get to the stage of writing them out, and it will look a bit like this. So 3 times, again, remember count's worth 1. So go to people, go to the first row of my people table and put that variable in. So go and get me the name from the first row of people. Go to the people table, go to the first row, get me the age. Go to the first row, go to the people table, grab me the first row and find the income for me. Okay? Once it's done one person, of course it goes up here, count becomes 2, go to the second row, get those things, go to the third row. And that is about it. So Lazarus wise, it will look a bit like this. I just want to shove a dollar sign on the end so it looks a little half professional. Okay, so here's our first name. Fred is 17 and earns the money. George is however old and earns whatever. Do you see the other, in the news there was a former oral surgeon, 91 years old, charged with importing cocaine.
Was what?
Importing cocaine, 91 years old.
You were all in this story.
So, yeah, so he obviously doesn't think he's got enough coin to keep him going. Okay, and it would spit that out. So again, if you want to think of this as your table structure, there's my first row, there's my second row, there's my third row. Okay, questions, gentlemen? Okay.